man or a woman, you can ask for this. Now, they asked for a specific sign. Personally, now I don't know. To me, this makes sense. Somebody might like question this. I tried to ask God for a lot of different signs. Like I tried a lot of them I forget, but the one sign that did actually work seemed to work. Apparently, did work because I'm with this girl to this day. I asked God. I said, God, where will I meet her? You know, if you can't tell me her name, if you can't tell me when I'm gonna meet her, can you tell me where? How would I ask you where? And I thought to myself, okay, the next place that I see lightning, that's where I'm gonna meet her. God, tell me that way. Show me a lightning bolt. The next the next time I see a lightning bolt, use that as a sign to me that I'm in the place where I'm gonna meet the person you want me to be with. So I asked for that. And then there was one storm with a lot of rain and like flooding rain, but it was during the daytime and I heard thunder, but I didn't see lightning. And I was kind of like the water flooded so much that it like first of all I tried to get out of the rain. I was walking back to the homeless shelter that I was staying at, and I tried to get out of the rain by running under down some church steps. You know, like some churches have like a basement, and there's outside steps down to the basement door. And I walked down these steps, and there was just enough covering. Okay, but the flooding waters like poured all the water in down the steps, and I had to like run out eventually. But while I was in there, like, you know, I'm stuck next to this church, and it's in the middle of a thunderstorm with flooding waters. And I think to myself, well, is this the sign that I was looking for? Am I going to meet this girl at this church? Well, I told God, I said, God, I'm going to go to this church one time. And if I don't meet my, you know, your supposed match for me, then I'm not going here ever again. And I'm assuming that I'm not going to meet her here. So I went to the church one time and I didn't see anybody like who could even possibly be like a date for me. So I left. And but then like what is it, a week later, however much time later, there was another night where I was sitting outside of the shelter, and there was a storm and there was lightning, and these lightning bolts flashed so bright, brighter than any lightning bolt I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm asking myself, am I exaggerating? That might not be an exaggeration. They were so bright that somebody else who was standing outside with me, like 30 feet away from me, they said something like, I'm going to try to copy them as best I can. They said something like, what was that about? I mean, it was really bright. Like the whole like nighttime, the whole area lit up like it was bright as day for just like that moment. Um, it was kind of trippy. It was like, you know, surreal. And I didn't even think about it when that happened. I totally forgot that I made the prayer for a sign like that. But was it that same night? It might have been that same night. I There was this girl at the shelter that I was like trying to ignore. I actually had a crush on someone else that I was working with. So I'm a very loyal person. So I wasn't trying to cheat on my crush who didn't like me or whatever. And there was this other girl that showed up at the shelter. She had been there for a week. I had seen her around, and she was very attractive from head to toe. But like I said, I was very loyal. And so I purposely did not look at her. I did not put myself in the same room as her. I didn't talk to her. I was ignoring her. And because I didn't want to give any kind of attention to any other woman who wasn't the person that I was pursuing. And so I was ignoring this person. I was not making any effort to like make a connection happen. I was making the opposite effort to avoid any kind of connection with this person. And one night, there's a curfew at the shelter, so you can't leave past 9 p.m. But I was hungry. I didn't have any food, so I door dashed some Taco Bell. And so I was sitting outside waiting for Taco Bell, and I was actually sitting. There's like two buildings. There's the shelter building where everybody sleeps and everything, and then there's a soup kitchen literally like in the same parking lot. Like the two buildings are like 10 feet apart. Um, and so I'm sitting next to the soup kitchen, which is like 35 feet away. And this girl that I'm trying to avoid, who is very pretty, uh, and she's sitting over there. I haven't had like more than two words with her. Um, and I'm not trying to sit over there. Like literally the reason why I'm not sitting over there next to her is because I'm trying to stay away from her. But I think to myself, well, when DoorDash comes up, they're gonna pull up to the shelter's front door. They're not gonna pull, and when they do that, I'm gonna have to awkwardly be like, oh, hey, I'm gonna have to run over there and say, I ordered that. So if I'm expecting DoorDash, I might as well just sit over by the front door, and then DoorDash will pull up, and then I will, see them. They will see me. I think this is just this what I'm supposed to do. So that's what I do. I go sit over there, but I sit facing away from her, and I don't say anything to her. I don't say anything to anybody around me. I'm really not trying to converse with anybody. But okay, DoorDash pulls up. They give me my Taco Bell. It's all smiles. They give them a good tip. It's cool. So I get my Taco Bell. Now I hear the people behind me having a conversation about the historicity of Jesus. They were like, well, did it happen? Did Jesus get crucified and resurrect? And I love that sort of conversation. So I turn my chair around to join the conversation. This girl that I'm talking about, she hasn't said a word in this conversation. She's been on her phone doing whatever. But these other two people are talking about Jesus. I turn my chair around. Now, the orientation, like the setup, when I turn my chair around, I'm facing the girl in question, and she's facing me. To my right is a guy who's the main discussion leader of the Jesus talk, and then on my left is some woman who's I'm assuming was his spouse or whatever. And so they were talking, and I turned around because I thought the conversation was interesting. I wasn't trying to talk to this girl across from me. This is the girl that I'm trying to avoid. This is the one and only time I ended up in the same vicinity as her, and I didn't mean to do it. I was only there for DoorDash. And then the only reason I even stayed sitting there was because they were talking about Jesus. This has nothing to do with her. Like the reason I emphasize that is because it's not self-fulfilling. Like it's the opposite. Even when I make every effort not to have a relationship with her or have any contact with her at all, God found a way to just like put us in the same space. And as we're having this conversation, the girl in question, she speaks up, and like to this day, like I've never felt what I felt in that moment. And I just felt like I just heard the voice of like the girl that I'm supposed to be with. And that's the one way I can put it. One of the better ways that I can try to describe it. It's a feeling that you like I've only ever had once in my life. Like I don't really know how to describe it. But it caught my attention, and it made me kind of like my jaw was kind of open and my eyes were kind of squinted. And if you were looking at my face in that moment, you might see it on my face that I was trying to figure out like, what is this feeling? Why have I never felt this feeling? What is this feeling? Like I had this look. Yeah, I'm kind of making that face right now, just trying to figure it out. Like, what is this feeling? Like, and she had a very interesting expression on her face of like it was like a smile, and it's so like bizarre because it's like she had no idea that we would be so special together, but like she had this smile like she knew like I was the one. And it was so interesting to me. And we ended up talking, and then the other two people, they went into the building to go to sleep and everything. But me and this girl stayed up for like 3 hours just talking and flirting, and yeah, we just like hit it off, and it was really cool. And then there's some other drama. Like it was not completely perfect, like smooth sailing from there on out. But um, I forgot all about my other crush after that night. Like I was totally enamored with. I need to look up that word, make sure I'm using that word right. Infatuated in love. This girl like gave me a feeling I never felt before, and the whole reason I told that story was because I asked God for a sign about lightning, which seems like, whatever. Like, okay, you asked for a sign about lightning and you saw a lightning bolt, whatever. Is it just a coincidence that I saw the lightning bolt at the shelter? It was extremely bright. It wasn't just any lightning bolt. It was so bright that somebody else just, felt like saying something about it and giving their commentary on it. And that same girl that I met there at the shelter ended up being the same girl I'm with now. And 8 months later, and uh, that's not the only sign either. I've got another one. I think, you know, that stuff isn't like random chance. God planned all of that. Why did God purposely uh, create a lightning bolt that bright? Right after I made a prayer. Now, if He didn't want me to like be deceived or misled or to mislead myself, because I was bound to see a lightning bolt eventually, right? And I was gonna think to myself, like, okay, does that mean this is the place? Uh, then maybe he would have used just a little lightning bolt, you know, maybe to kind of say like this isn't really a sign. It's just you were gonna see a lightning bolt eventually. So, but instead, God used a very bright lightning bolt. He made that choice on purpose, and so I think this is a an actual sign. You know, if you could say the same thing about the guy asking about bringing water for him and his camels to drink. Somebody was gonna bring him probably, right? Like just out of politeness, somebody was going to be polite to him and right? But it could have been a man or it could have been a woman who was taken. If God didn't want to use that as a sign for him, he could have, kind of foiled it a little bit and been like, well, hey, like, I heard your prayer, but I don't want to give you that sort of sign. Like, I want you to find a different way to meet this person. And so I'm going to foil your request for a sign a little bit. And the person that's going to give you water is going to be a man or it's going to be a taken woman or something, a woman who already has a husband or something. Like it's going to be something that like someone who can't be your brother's wife. Uh, so someone that can't fit that description. But God didn't do that. Instead, he presented him with a presumably a virgin, someone who had never been married before, who was willing to go back with them, um, and who apparently I'm assuming it's implied by omission uh, that they were happily ever after, like because there's no mention of them like breaking up later, and yeah, so it's kind of implied just by like yeah